The Jeep Wagoneer nameplate has been around since 1963. And when you think of Wagoneer, you may think of old school, big, rugged, and spacious. But the Wagoneer gets sporty and charged up with the new Wagoneer S. And we're in California, and I'm gonna take this out on a test drive. And since we mentioned old school, hey, editor, can you cue up some good old Micah Musio music? Ooh, that's a tongue twister. The all-new Jeep Wagoneer S is the brand's first global battery electric vehicle. It's a two-row crossover that seats up to 5 people and is built on Stellantis' STLA Large platform. As you can see, it's not as big or as boxy as the ICE version Wagoneer, but it's plenty aerodynamic with its sloping hood, tapered roofline without roof rails, flush door handles, and massive rear spoiler, which all together help to achieve a drag coefficient of just 0.29, the lowest ever for a Jeep vehicle. And Jeep said it spent a good amount of time in an expensive wind tunnel to get there. The Wagoneer S does have characteristics of the second generation Wagoneer, but it's almost like someone took some pomade and smoothed it back just so it can look more aerodynamic. I mean, it does still have the 7-slotted grille up front, and it doesn't breathe because you don't have to cool anything up here, but Jeep says it rather sees with the LED lighting up front. And being perfectly honest, don't fight me for this, but maybe you can. It looks a little bit like a longer Jeep Compass. See you in the comment section. Yeah, sure, I know I could have said it also looks like a more futuristic Jeep Grand Cherokee as well, but I like to have some fun, and all I'm saying is that the Wagoneer S has that familiar classic Jeep design language, and it brings it into the age of electrification, which is denoted by its 4xe badge. And for some folks, familiarity is important. But let's move on to some driving. So full disclosure, this is actually a 2024 model. This is the launch edition of the Wagoneer S, and it's still a pre-production model. They are gonna come out with a 2025 model that may have less features, less horsepower, and a lesser price, but that's all speculative. Just wanted to throw that out there. The Wagoneer S is powered by a flat skateboard-style 400-volt, 100 kilowatt-hour battery with an electric motor in both front and rear. This system delivers a total of 600 horsepower, 617 pound-feet of delicious torque, standard all-wheel drive, and can go from 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds, which is just a hair faster than the gone but not forgotten Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk, making this the quickest Jeep ever. And if you're planning to tow, this can do up to 3,400 pounds. And yeah, 600 horsepower is nothing to be shy about. This thing is quick, and it's really fun to drive, especially on these back roads in Southern California. And I gotta say, the throttle is really smooth. It's not jerking me around. It gives me some good progressive power. And if you stomp on the accelerator, yeah, you're gonna get thrown back into your seat because whew, this thing is quick. And I gotta say, the brakes feel good as well. They're nice and predictable and progressive. They're not too spongy, and they give you some good feedback instead of a bunch of other EVs and hybrid vehicles that just feel like you gotta give it a little bit more effort to bring it to a stop. And if one pedal drive mode is your thing, you can change up the regen braking in the menu and set the creep mode off, so that way it's a complete one pedal drive mode. A lot of people like it. Me personally, I don't, because I'm stuck in LA traffic a lot, so I turn creep mode on and I just enjoy the drive. The Wagoneer S is able to achieve up to 303 miles of driving range on a single charge, and when all-wheel drive isn't needed, the front motor can disconnect for better efficiency. The system has a max charge rate of 175 kilowatts and can go from 20 to 80% in around 23 minutes on a DC fast charger. You can also use the Jeep app to help plan routes and charging stops along your commute. Yeah, it has some decent range and some quick charging, but it doesn't have the NACS charge ports, but maybe in the future? The STLA Large platform, which also underpins the Dodge Charger Daytona EV we reviewed not too long ago, so if you haven't seen that video, go check it out, allows the Wagoneer S to have a low center of gravity with a 50-50 weight distribution and extra torsional rigidity. There's a McPherson strut front suspension, integral link rear suspension, and no option for air suspension, but the Jeep Wagoneer S still performs well. I gotta say, the Wagoneer S is doing a great job with its handling. It's going into corners nice and planted. I feel confident. It's not really shifting weight anywhere, and it actually feels good. You can have fun on a back road in a Wagoneer S, which is kind of funny to say. The steering feels nice and weighted. It gives me some good feedback. And if you want to change up some driving dynamics in here, you could just throw it into sport mode. And what that does is tighten up the steering a little bit more, adds a little bit more weight to it. It also changes up the throttle mapping, and it takes off traction control. So if you're gonna be having some fun in sport mode, just keep that in mind. Whew, this is quick. Along with performance, the Wagoneer S's interior is a familiar space that doesn't pull a lot of EV stunts, but rather a premium look with lots of tech. There's a 10-inch head-up display, 12.3-inch instrument cluster and center touchscreen, 10.25-inch HVAC command center, and available 10.25-inch passenger display. All the screens. The screens in here look great. They're nice and big and clear. The gauge cluster is slightly configurable. You can have a couple options, or you can have your navigation directions on the screen. And I like how all of these screens are embedded in the dash. It gives it a nice streamlined design. What I don't like is how reflective these screens are, because in the right sunlight, everything gets washed out and it's pretty much glaring into your eyes. As far as operating the infotainment screen, it's fairly intuitive. It takes a few clicks to get to whatever menu item you would like. And I really appreciate the cameras on the screen. They're a big variety of cameras, especially the blind spot camera, which pops up when you are activating your signal stop. The only weird thing is it takes up the whole screen. So if you're in the native navigation, it just blocks it out. So just know if you got a turn coming, plan ahead. When you're not blinded by the screens, the Wagoneer S is comfortable to sit in. These seats are made of a non-leather material which look and feel great, have a good range of motion, and heating and ventilation. There's also memory seat settings for the front passenger. I love to see it. Legroom is okay, but I wish the footwell was a little bit bigger, because me at 6'4", it feels just a little bit snug on the right side. But the seats are highly adjustable, and they provide good support if you are canyon carving in your Wagoneer S. And if you want some more comfort, there's a massage setting that does a really good job. And it's not a shih-tzu massage. Wait, I can't say shih-tzu? Fine, it's not a Swedish massage, but it definitely gets the job done, and it can relax you on your commute home. I can't believe I can't say that. Hope we don't get dinged. As far as the rear quarters, the doors open up nice and wide, and the rear seats have a slight recline, but yeah, they can be a bit snug for taller folks. I didn't have much legroom seated behind myself at 6'4", and there's also a small tunnel on the floor back there, so middle seat occupants have to deal with that. But if you're an average sized person, I think you'll fit just fine, and at least the rear outboard seats are heated and ventilated. That's something you don't see in a lot of vehicles. Out back, there's 30.6 cubic feet of cargo room behind the rear seats, and there's even some extra underfloor storage. Fold the rear seats for up to 61 cubic feet of total space, and for those tiny items, there's a 3 cubic foot front trunk. Getting back inside, the interior of the Wagoneer S has a premium look that takes styling cues from its ICE Wagoneer counterpart, like the 2-spoke steering wheel and some of the dash design. There are plenty of soft touch points, some contrast stitching, and interesting trim material. The cabin of the Wagoneer S definitely feels upscale. There are nice materials and some cool stitching, especially this chiseled metal on the door panel and on top of the dash. It's well put together. There's not a lot of squeaks or rattles despite this being a pre-production model. I wish there was some type of sound besides the harmonics at slow speeds, just because this is an exciting vehicle to drive, especially off the line. So I wish they gave you just a little bit more of a hum or a propulsion sound just to enhance that experience. But I get it. They're going for premium. They want it to be nice and serene. Yeah, some propulsion noise would have been good with that, right? Yeah. On a more practical note, this being an EV, SUV, or EV crossover, whatever you want to call it, I mean, it has decent space. I'm really glad it has a compartment for sunglasses, some kind of shallow door bins, so you can fit smaller items there. But my favorite feature is this. Under the HVAC control screen down here, you can lift it up and you have a hidden cubby for your microfiber towel, because I'm telling you, man, this thing gets so dusty so fast because it's so reflective.
The Wagoneer S comes loaded with more than 170 standard security and safety features, including a surround view camera, intersection collision assist, blind spot warning, and active driving assist. And with over-the-air updates, those features can evolve, maybe even with potential enhanced automated driving.
Now, while this doesn't have complete hands-free driving, this does have hands-on driving assist with lane-changing functions, but you gotta make sure you have at least a couple fingers on the steering wheel, and it is capacitive touch, so you won't have to torque the steering wheel to let the system know that you are paying attention. But it does a great job at keeping up with the car in front, and even going into turns, it feels nice and smooth, and it doesn't ping-pong you around like some other systems do. And even when you're coming to a complete stop, it does it nice and smoothly. This does a good job with this driver assist system.
Pricing for the Jeep Wagoneer S Launch Edition begins at $72,000, and that price includes the destination charge. This model will be the start of a broader Wagoneer S lineup and includes all of the performance with black styling cues, 20-inch wheels, standard dual-pane sunroof, and black interior, but red is optional at an additional price. The Wagoneer S's sporty demeanor is apparent by its lack of rugged accessories like roof rails, high ground clearance, and thick tires. So hopefully we'll see an off-road capable Trailhawk variant that was shown as a concept vehicle. I wonder what something like that would cost.
If you're interested in grabbing a Jeep Wagoneer S, or maybe you want to grab one of the competitors, go on kbb.com and check them out and get a fair purchase price. kbb.com, click the link above for more details.
The Wagoneer S is looking to compete with other premium midsize EV SUVs like the Cadillac Lyriq, of course the Tesla Model Y, and many more that will surely begin to pop up. If you're interested in checking out the Wagoneer S, it's already at Jeep dealerships.
Jeep's first battery electric vehicle is here with the Wagoneer S. Will there be a Wagoneer SL? Will there be a Wagoneer S Trackhawk? Who knows? Will there be a Grand Wagoneer S? Your guess is as good as mine. But I know this thing is fast, has lots of tech, and yeah, it looks pretty familiar. And if all that stuff sounds good to you, check one out for yourself.